Well, thank you, Travis. And what we're going to do now is that, first of all, I'd like to introduce our two additional panelists. Jennifer Haworth is the Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for Globe Life, where she has been since 1997. That is terrific. I mean, most CMOs are gone after a few years. So you're doing a good job. She oversees the marketing operations and corporate travel and events, which include the individual subsidiaries. She's also the sports marketing operations partner for the Texas Rangers, naming rights for Globe Life Field, Dallas Cowboys, and the Atlanta Braves, and recently the Los Angeles Lakers. So you're a very busy person, and she's part of our panel. I'd like to introduce Charley Green, who's a founding partner in the Breakaway Sports Marketing, where he has spent 26 years in sports marketing, and he's worked with Sears, the V Foundation, the Sani Water, Dr. Pepper. And for the next hour, we're going to talk about the challenges and possibilities in sports marketing. You heard from Travis before, and what he's done and Travis has done. Everyone should be benchmarking what you've been doing. I think it's terrific. And Charley, you're a consultant for some major brands, and Jennifer, you are the title holder for the new stadium. So I want to ask you a question. What was your thought process in becoming the title holder for the new field for the Texas Rangers and the other brands?
Well, Globe Life, historically speaking, we're a company that our roots go back 100 years, and it's life insurance and some, accident and non-major medical health. It is not a brand or an industry, if you will, that you see out there in the sports world a whole lot. And we have multiple subsidiary companies, some that you might be familiar with, many that you probably aren't. And the reason that you are not is because we had a fragmented marketing approach where we were putting marketing spend into multiple brands versus one. So in 2014, we decided to go down the path of branding one company, creating name recognition for Globe Life that at the time had the most traction across the country. And instead of putting our toe in the water with our name on an outfield wall somewhere, we just went ahead and jumped in the deep end and got the naming rights on a major league ballpark, which was Globe Life Park at the time. And the impetus to that was to build brand recognition, to become a household name. We knew that that was going to take some time. And we really started to see that grow in about 2 to 3 years, seasons worth. And then we have just continued to expand from there.
And Charley, as far as your challenges, what are the challenges that you're facing with your clients these days?
Well, most of our work, Breakaway Sports Marketing, is college athletics, which is great. It's a very strong industry and it's still growing. But there have been a lot of changes, and I'm sure anybody that follows sports has seen this in the last few years, where the athletes themselves now can receive compensation to play for the schools. They can also transfer pretty much anytime they want and play from one year to the next. So there's a lot of jumping around of athletes between the schools. And then the schools are in conferences, larger conferences, and those are always changing. Basically, it's a pecking order thing. Everybody's trying to get to the top of the pecking order and stay there. And so working with the colleges as much as we do, we have to sort of ride that wave. We're lucky enough, like with the trophy outside, that's the national championship trophy. So we're always going to be working on a level that's kind of at the top. The schools are top of the pecking order, but it is definitely a challenge, the changing landscape, especially as pertains to like marketing budgets, because that's what we rely on. Like Dr. Pepper's name is all over that backdrop there. They're a great college football sponsor for decades now. So that's great, but more is being asked of them now financially because of the expansion of paying athletes now and TV rights going up and everything. So that's really the biggest challenge, just that.
Travis, I want to ask you a question as far as dealing with the media now. You don't have Sports Illustrated any longer. You don't have Sporting News any longer. It's very diverse as far as your message that you want to get out. What is your preferred form of messaging right now, or don't you have one?
Yeah, I mean, we've really tried to be as diversified as possible. A lot of it will depend on the product that we're specifically pushing. So where we might message, season ticket, season ticket messaging would be different from like groups or single games. So we really do stay diverse. I mean, you'll see us in out of home, print, radio, TV. We do a lot of performance media. We started working, through a lot of the kind of predictive and AI driven performance media, so whether it's PMax or Google, couple platforms like Smartly and some others that you will literally put a buy in, you'll be able to put your target audiences, and then it'll serve those folks ads depending on their behavior, if they've clicked on it, if they didn't click on it, if they are somebody who you've targeted, like is a registered user and they've purchased something in the past, their purchase behavior. So it's gotten really smart. We're putting obviously like everybody more into the digital performance side because you can track your results so much more precisely. You can be nimble. We literally will have certain creative out there that will be triggered based on like certain occurrences. So like obviously for us, anytime Jacob deGrom pitches, it's kind of a must see moment for us, especially since he's only been healthy enough to pitch 9 starts for us. So everyone still really wants to see him live. So you'll see that like when he is actually announced as a pitcher through this platform Smartly, that once that's linked into like an API through MLB. So once he is officially announced as a starting pitcher, then creative will actually go out and be served and targeted to our fan base and different segments that we've identified, literally promoting the fact that deGrom will be pitching a home game.
Jennifer, as far as Globe Life, what is the key message that you want to send out to your various?
Well, what we've done is we've spent several years on this branding journey, really on name recognition. And we just recently started putting a message behind that. You would notice maybe a couple of years back, if you've seen Who's Your Beneficiary. We've put that around. We use that at the ballpark. We also use that at AT&T Stadium with the Cowboys to really tell people a brief version of our message, which is what we are good for. We can protect the people that you love most. This season, this baseball season and upcoming football season, you're going to see something different. One of our mission at Globe Life is to make tomorrow better. And that comes at many different angles. You make tomorrow better by protecting your family with our products. You also make tomorrow better for your family by working for our company and having a lucrative career, as well as what we do in the community, which is extensive. All of our sports marketing partnerships include a community element to them so that we can continue to have that message of make tomorrow better. So you're going to see that this season because it encompasses so many things that we're able to build campaigns off of that. But our intent when it comes to sports marketing, you'll notice you don't see a lot of insurance companies doing the things that Globe Life is doing. And that is really to establish that household name. We have about 17,000 agents across the country right now that all need to eliminate the roadblock of, oh, wait, who do you work for again? And why should I pick up this phone or jump on a Zoom call or let you in my front door? What sports partnerships have done for us, they go, oh yeah, I know who you are, Globe Life Field. Or, oh, I saw you at a Cowboys game, or you're on the dugout rails at all the Atlanta Braves games. So that's what it's really done for us, more so than the messaging of what we're trying to sell or how we're trying to recruit. It's really just to become that name that people go, yes, I know exactly who Globe Life is.
Yeah, done a good job. Charlie, as far as the relationship that Dr. Pepper has with the trophy that we have out in the lobby there, and they've been sponsoring that for quite a while, correct? How do you measure success? Why are they doing that? I mean, obviously, it's very visible, but what are the analytics behind all that?
Yeah, I can't speak for Dr. Pepper, but just being in their meetings for 15,
Yeah.
20 years. They want to be associated with college football. It's a lot of what Jennifer just said, the fans of college football. Whatever their favorite beverage is, they watch the games every week. They're gonna see Dr. Pepper. And to be on something like the Trophy, which goes on a national tour, and we do an awful lot of events in like grocery stores, anywhere they sell Dr. Pepper. And so fans flock to the Trophy to get free photos with it and everything, and the product is right there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the passion, to go to the question a few minutes ago about just how sports generates this passion that is always there, and the economy can be up and down and other industries will come and go. Sports fans are just generation after generation, they come back to that brand. And so for Dr. Pepper to be affiliated with an entire sport, college football is just really valuable.
Travis, as far as the players are concerned, they're really important to your brand. Do you train them how to represent the Texas Ranger brand? It's almost like they're an employee now, and they want them to show their best foot forward. How do you get them involved that they don't get into trouble? A lot of athletes do nowadays. And that can impact your brand, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, our PR group will work with especially younger players on, just kind of the realities of being a professional athlete, and our player relations group as well. But for us, we don't get the opportunity to train them. And we get, pretty limited time with them. That's why spring training is so important. We have a few days, we capture the majority of everything we get with them. And we know for a lot of the guys, it's kind of a necessary evil. They're baseball players, they're not actors. And a few of them remind us of that every time we're working with them. But they get it, they understand it. We've earned their trust to know that we're only gonna do things that put them in a positive light. When I address the team in spring training, I tell them, I lead off and say, everything we do is in service of filling that ballpark up to give you guys the home field advantage you deserve. So everything we do is in service of that. And so then our job is getting to know these guys over the years, if they're new, trying to talk to counterparts at other teams and just knowing what their strengths are. So when we do anything with them, we try to meet them where they are versus having them meet us where we are, just because that's the most authentic version of themselves. And so if they're an authentic version of themselves, then they're going to be a positive representation of our brand. And so they don't necessarily need to become spokespeople. It's our job really to tell their story and have our fans connect with them on a personal level and give them something emotionally to kind of connect to beyond just the Rangers brand.
Right. Now, I'm assuming you have community relations, people that go out there, promote your brand, just like you probably have people who you reach out to for possible new employees. Actually, are they employees or independents?
Both.
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 Okay. What do you find is your biggest challenge in recruiting people using your brand?
The biggest challenge is probably just retention of those people. It's an industry that's turns over quite a bit. You have to keep people consistently engaged, and sports is one way that we do that. Like you mentioned, we recently, just this past fall, announced we're the official life insurance of the LA Lakers, and that was very intentional. From a recruiting perspective, it was West Coast expansion. It was giving all of those people across the country a reason to say, hey, you know what the next big thing is? We've got the Rangers, we've got the Cowboys, now we've got the NBA and the Lakers. And so that having that constant churn of something to chase, something to be excited about. We do a lot with activation on these partnerships. So that's the challenge there, is just to constantly, give them a reason to want to work for our company.
Yeah. And Charley, what are your clients looking at nowadays as far as activation is concerned?
A lot is trended towards social media.
Social?
That's been throughout my career. watching that evolution has been really fascinating. Whereas someone working with that trophy, luckily that's a physical thing and we can take it anywhere and it is very social media friendly. Hopefully you're gonna put your picture on your accounts. But so it goes from what you just asked Travis, like going from, we used to really put a lot of focus on, we have to get, if we go to Oregon, we have to get the Daily Oregonian, come out and take a photo, that kind of thing. We go into the local TV stations, which we can still do, but it's so valuable now. Just, you could be sitting in the grocery store and if the right people are in there and they take a little boomerang video or something, you're reaching so many people so quickly. And it is your target. Usually it's people that are willing to, if they're in the store, they might be shopping for Dr. Pepper. And so now it's on social media, they're combining their love of college football with the Dr. Pepper brand. So that's been really interesting and in some ways easier for us than always knocking on the door of the media, which they only have certain.
Yeah, I mean, particularly the way sports is set up nowadays, it's very conflicted in many ways because there's so much activity going, you know, and it's changing with streaming services now coming into play. Even, I tell you, it's really interesting where I live in New York City. The home team can't be on, which is really weird. You know, I want to watch the New York Knicks. I'm a basketball fan, and they're not on. And I'm sure that's the same thing with baseball. You want to see the Yankees, they have their own channel. The Mets have their own channel, and you guys have your own channel here. And what's your challenge with that? I mean, having your own channel, and you're competing with other activities during the season.
Yeah, it's rare that after, you know, close to 30 years of doing this, that you get thrown something that's completely new, and launching an RSN was that for me this past year. But it's a massive challenge, and it's just so fragmented now, and there's so many, first of all, so many options, so many distractions, as we know, just with mobile devices we talked about, but it's just gotten so fragmented. So for us, that was really the big reason our owners, you know, the quote that Ray Davis made about this was like, he was done with the fate of our distribution, those decisions being made in somebody else's boardroom, that we wanted those decisions to be made in our boardroom from now on. And so do we have a hill to climb? Absolutely. Like, you're building something from scratch.
Yeah.
No other team in Major League Baseball that was the same position as us decided to do what we did. They either re-upped with Diamond or they went with MLB, and they kind of took a turnkey approach. So we knew what we were choosing to do was going to be like the road less traveled, and probably the tougher road in the short term. But what it gives us is complete control to go out there and negotiate the right carriage deals for us, with those that are willing to. We all know YouTube TV doesn't really play in that space with anybody. But for us to be able to do that, and then to have that streaming option, that we are, for the first time, since, you know, probably we were truly over the air, that we have 100% penetration within our marketing, our broadcast territory. We have 100% penetration that if you want to stream us, you can stream us. You can get over the air games. There's linear options for you out there. And so, like, every Rangers fan who wants to watch our game for the first time in a lot of years, will be able to do that. And so, but that's a huge challenge in itself. You know, we're out now negotiating these deals ourselves. We're out there, you know, partnering with Victory Plus. We're building. That's one thing the last few months for me is like our design team working hand in hand with our third party partners, designing every graphic and transition and animation. And you're just like, you just have no idea all of the intricacies that go into like a score bug, and all of the things that come off of a score bug, and the stats that need to be there and represented, where on the screen, where people's eyes going to be drawn. And so it's a really fascinating dynamic and project, but it's a massive challenge. And for us, like, we're out there selling advertising right now with no Nielsen ratings because we haven't been on air yet. So it's all projections and going out there and trying to sell a product that hasn't existed yet. And knowing that once we get it out there, we'll have higher numbers than what we've seen, recently with Valley, just because we're gonna have more distribution.
Any questions from you folks out here?
I have a comment and a question for both Jennifer and Travis. So Jennifer, I mean, I must have to, as you know, have a disclaimer is that I know a little bit of background on Globe Life. I've done some work with them as a brand consultant. But I think to add to what Jennifer said, I think that Globe Life is perhaps the best example I've ever seen of how marketing and branding, particularly sports marketing, can transform a company. So Globe Life used to be called Torchmark. It was run by two finance joint CEOs, really good guys, but they despised marketing, complete waste of time and money. And that's why they had multiple brands, as Jennifer referred to. And what changed everything was that the marketing team at Globe Life, including Jennifer, one business was called, just a small part of the business, was called Globe Life, and they did a sponsorship of the Rangers at the time when it was the old stadium, which was kind of decrepit, and the Rangers were losing, so it wasn't that expensive, so they got away with it. And then CEOs looked around and they said, "Why have that part of the business's sales gone up? But they're getting to be national." And then they saw, oh, maybe there's something in this brand stuff overall. And that was what led to the company changing its name of the entire corporation to Globe Life, and has made an enormous. It's enabled it to become national. To start with, it was all about just creating awareness, as Jennifer said, because nobody had ever heard of it. Now it's about having really getting the brand purpose across. And as Jennifer articulated, they have a real purpose, which it is affordable life insurance for the working man and woman, so that if something happens to them, they have an accident or whatever, is that the future of their family is guaranteed because they have life insurance, which is a real mission and vision. So it's great to know that you're able now, you've got enough awareness, you can start, infusing what's the heart of the brand into everything. So my question for Travis is, you did a fantastic job of exemplifying what we've been told. And actually it's Arnaud at LVMH has as his mantra. It is great brands have one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And that's what you look at Louis Vuitton, they're still celebrating their old steamer trunks and things. And yet they're, modern. And you have done a wonderful job of, doing that. It sounds like keeping your older fans, which I was wondering about at a certain point, but it sounds like you have, while, really getting into the future by the way, fragmented marketing, addressing cultural segments, which is a great example. But what is the essence of the brand? What does it stand for beyond Texas?
I mean, really what we ground our brand in, both with our previous campaign and this one, is really the essence of the pride of being a Texan. And we talk a lot about if you live here, you get it. If you don't live here, you still get it, whether you roll your eyes at it or you embrace it, like you get it. Like if someone's from Texas, you're probably gonna know within the first 5 minutes of meeting them that they're from Texas. And there's just a certain pride in that just doesn't, you know, I mean, I was born in Chicago, like Illinois doesn't have that same level of state pride as like Texas, right? And that's no disrespect to Illinois, but it's just the way it is. And so all of the things, and that was kind of the origin story that we told through City Connect and how that tied to Texas literally becoming, like having to win its independence and the pride of that passion that Texans have of just hard work and commitment, passion, and the hospitality. We always like to say kind of everything in the ballpark has the mentality of like, you know, I'm gonna shake your hand and look you in the eye and wish you good luck. And then as soon as the game starts, I'm gonna try and, you know, beat you as thoroughly as possible at whatever game we're playing, but respectfully. And that's where you'll see a lot of our narrative. It's one big difference between us and the Astros. The Astros have kind of embraced the bad, you know, the villain a little bit since their controversy. But they're also kind of just a little bit more bravado, and they're not afraid if they beat somebody to kind of, especially on social, to kind of, you know, throw shade on that team if they sweep them or if they beat them or whatever else. And ours is very intentionally not that. It's always respectful. We beat someone, we win, and we move on. And so it really is, I mean, the core of who we are is really based in like the core values of being, you know, the Texans embrace, and to show our fans that we represent. Part of our job is to represent you as a Texan and to represent this state. So really, we're rooted in a lot of those things, kind of with that ethos of what it is to be a Texan. And one of the things I love that you said was the 1 foot in the past and the future, because everything we've done, and I think you saw that in the presentation, where it's like, it's looking to the future, but we're always tipping our cap to the past because we aren't who we are without the past, right? And there's so many great legacy pieces of our brand that our fans still love, even young fans. Their young fans love the old block tee that was the 1972 logo. We put any retro, the cowboy hat logo out, like we see our young fans embracing that kind of retro look. And kind of one of our big pillars is that the importance of a brand. You kind of touched on this earlier on kind of the importance of brand and winning, but like, you have to build a relationship with your fans or your customers, right? Your brand is the vehicle to do that. And so we always say, it's like, we can't reach our hand out for them to spend money with us or put our hand in their pocket and take their wallet out to buy a ticket, to buy merchandise, to buy food, unless we've built a relationship with them. We haven't built a relationship with them through our brand, and we can't expect them to transact with us financially, right? And so I think that's a really important part. We've had the support of our leadership. You've obviously had the same support, and yours in investing in the brand, because it really is. I mean, you're a classic, absolute classic case of that. When you guys put your name on the old ballpark, I didn't know who you were, you know? And now, like, it's a trusted, recognized brand that, again, you've built a relationship with people by just being in the ballpark, to where when someone does come with their hand out or an opportunity to come have a financial relationship with you guys, then it just feels natural because you feel like you've already had an emotional relationship with that brand. And so if you don't have that emotional relationship, it's a lot harder to get them to part with their hard-earned money, spend it with you over thousands of other options that they have to spend their money on.
So are you able to demonstrate the financial results of everything you've done?
What's that?
Are you able to demonstrate the financial impact of all the, you know, brand and marketing you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, just seeing the retention that we've had on our season ticket base. So that for us is a big piece of showing that we haven't alienated our core. So seeing that loyalty and that retention. And then also seeing that our fan base our season ticket members are getting younger, they're getting more diverse. Like, we're starting to feed the pipeline with that next generation of season ticket members and loyal fans. And then, yeah, I mean, when we've looked at the lift that we've seen since 22 to now, and our full season equivalents, our FSC base, our season ticket member base, our registered users, all of those metrics are up. Winning a championship absolutely helps, absolutely a big spike there, but it was all trending up before that. So that's kind of one of the things that we've talked about a lot internally, is that we were ready as an organization, both as a brand and as an organization, like we were ready for that moment in 23. Like it wasn't this panic, like, wow, now we're a champion. What do we do? Like everything we had done, both operationally, from a marketing standpoint, the new ballpark, everything had built us to be ready for that, to capitalize on that moment. And our sales teams, our partnerships teams, they've all done an amazingly good job of taking that momentum and stacking that into like business results.
So Jennifer, you gave us a great lesson about the gamble on investing in, you know, a brand that's relatively unknown in sports with a hopefully a big payoff, that awareness and trust, things like that. And I see a lot of B2B marketers especially flocking to, you know, similar plays right now, whether it's F1, PGA, NFL, whatever. You also mentioned activation. I'm curious, like, because a lot of companies don't think about the initial investment of sponsorship, they don't really think about all the rest of the investment it takes to actually get the most out of it. The activation. Can you share some lessons or best practices or some learnings you got from your activation side of the
Sure, it's a huge part of what we do. We maximize the benefits of activation, so to speak, in every way that we possibly can. So with baseball, it's amazing. We have 82 opportunities for home games. We bring people to our suite. We give them personalized jerseys. They have this incredible sense of pride to go, oh my gosh, I worked for Globe Life, and Globe Life is everywhere, all over this stadium. With the Cowboys, for example, a little bit different. We've got 8 home games to work with. What we'll do is we take a whole parking lot and we do a tailgate. And that is Globe Life branded across the entire tailgate, from cornhole boards to, you know, barbecues and the drinks and everything else. And we say, hey, sell this much, recruit this many people, and you can be a Cowboy for a day. And they get the royal treatment on that side. The Lakers has been really remarkable in that way, especially since of the Luka trade that happened. People think that we have something to do with that. So we had something, we got the Lakers and then took Luka with us. So I'm happy to take credit for that all day.
Lean into the conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. But what we try to do again is to instill a sense of pride into people, that they're at a place with this organization like the Texas Rangers to go, they want to be a part of what we're doing. We do that for employee engagement also, you know,
Yeah, I'm
from,
glad you brought that up.
yeah, from tickets to opportunities, opening day, for example, we, you know, put that all over the office so that they have that sense of pride too, that we're a part of something bigger and they're a part of that too.
Yeah, getting them to know why you're doing that, because
Absolutely.
we worked with companies who are sponsoring Olympics, for example, and they're like, why are we wasting all this money as a company on this?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and they don't get it.
They don't, you're
Yeah.
right. And you know, it's interesting, back in 2014, when we ventured into this, Globe Life had historically been a direct-to-consumer company. So we said, oh, well, we'll stick an 800 number on the back of the scoreboard, true story, and a big URL, and people are gonna call it, and they're gonna want life insurance. Well, nobody called it, because nobody's buying life insurance at baseball games. And so what we learned was there isn't that opportunity from a sales perspective, but it really was the brand. And Joanna mentioned, you know, we have about 6 major subsidiaries. Some of the ones that you may have or likely have not heard of: American Income, Family Heritage, United American, Liberty National. Those are all Globe Life subsidiaries. We have rebranded them over time to Globe Life, so they can go to market as Globe Life. In 2020, we opened the new ballpark, $1.2 billion, beautiful ballpark, Globe Life Field, to no fans. It was probably one of the biggest letdowns of my career. It was COVID. We had the cardboard fans in the stands. However, we got the World Series. So the numbers went through the roof in terms of our exposure, and that was just marketing gold to be a part of that first year of the stadium that felt like a disappointment. It was actually amazing, followed by 2023 with the World Series win, which we really saw the numbers skyrocket there, then the All-Star game following that. But we really do try to always bring it back to this is about you and you have to share in this with us, and how they can be a part of. We are trying to make Globe Life into a company that you can be proud of, that you want to stay and have a long-term career with.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thanks. I think Robert might. Or do you want me to-
No, you know, no,
This, I think this question applies in one way to Travis and to Jennifer, because you're on the inside of the organization. But you're on the spot, actually, maybe it's different. But what I'm trying to understand is, we are an organization that matches marketing to finance and vice versa. And I'd really love to get a sense from you, how are you articulating the financial return of the types of marketing investments or brand investments that you're making? Because these are longitudinal. You saw the Lesbian A field stuff that Joanna put out at the beginning of the day. Like, this is long-term return. All the work that I'm going and seeing with clients is like, you get like, unless you're very lucky, you get a negative return in year one of a capital investment to brand, right? And then you get an astronomical return done right over a 5 to 10 year investment, right? So just I'd like to get your perspective, and I think maybe from Charley, from your perspective, how do you help your clients articulate that to their finance organization?
Yeah, well, I'm not on the inside.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping is happening with my clients, they have access to all the information that we in the field, we do a lot of, we're all activations, so we're
Yeah.
across the country in various venues. And so what we can see, we talk to, for example, Dr. Pepper sales people around the country. They'll set up a grocery store visit for us in some rural part of Pennsylvania in the middle of the season, and the salesperson will tell us, like, affiliation with college football is driving our numbers here. We need the store to give us more shelf space. So we wanted to get the trophy up here, build a relationship, better improves the relationship with the store manager and the local bottler and everything. And so that's where we hear it. I can't spit out any numbers right now, but we definitely hear it around the country that the sales numbers are doing great, or this region needs a little help. That kind of thing. But so I know that the work that's done, by this organization is definitely paid attention to in those boardrooms. And so, and sometimes I'm happy not to be inside the room. Like, I'm gonna make some really hard decisions. So, we're like 8-figure decisions that might affect me down the road, but they have the information and they're seeking more. And I mean, I think it's great what I've learned, just since signing up to do this event, what MASB does.
I will say, to add to what you've said and what Travis has said, and to make sure that Jennifer takes her full credit, is Globe Life is such a brilliant example of what MASB tries to do. The reason why those two financially minded CEOs, well, their interest in brand, or there may be something there, was aroused by sponsorship, success and sponsorship of Globe Life Field. But the reason they went for it, took the step of changing the name of the corporation, which is a big deal, they changed the stock ticker, all the rest, was because it was done the way that I believe in and that MASB advocates, which is everything was linked to financial results.
It was, and that's a great question. It's one that plagues me because I'm asked all the time, well, how do you know it's working? And show me numbers. And when it comes to brand, as you all know, that has a long tail. And sometimes you cannot connect perfectly ROI numbers in our direct to consumer business. I can say, we mailed this out and I know that this many people took out a policy, therefore, here are your numbers. We do measure it, obviously, just the standard analytics of Nielsen ratings and vision insights that say you had this much QI media value off of, this home plate signage. And so I can put some numbers to that. But where we are also able to measure it is the growth of our agent force. For example, I talked about us rebranding all of our subsidiaries. The last of our subsidiaries, the largest one, we did that in the spring of 22. And what was wonderful is they were clamoring for it. When do we get to say we're Globe Life? We did that. All of those people were able to put Globe Life logo on their shirt. They were able to say, hey, we're the official life insurance of the Texas Rangers, the Dallas Cowboys. And they had their largest year of growth within the first 6 months of that announcement that they've ever had. So those are measurements that we're able to do as well. On the activation side, we also do contest, like I mentioned, sell this much, recruit this many people, you get to go be a part of the Rangers Suite for a Day jersey. And we do exact ROI in every single one of those activations as well. And we can see what that brings in.
That's really helpful.
Okay, that, Frankie, last one.
Yeah, last one. Yeah, I noticed that not only your brand, but this for Jennifer. New York Life, for example, I think they are partnered with whole Major League Baseball, right? And also probably USA Soccer or soccer too, right? So is this very hard for you to differentiate if everybody in the life insurance space start, getting into sports marketing or sponsorship? So how do you stand out?
Well, I think that the marketplace is big enough where that doesn't worry me at this point. I mean, you've got MetLife where in New York, they're gonna get the final game of World Cup in 26. Now they're not gonna be allowed to be called MetLife, so I'm not too worried about that. Because FIFA won't allow that to happen, but I think the space is still big enough. What's really interesting is that as I talk to teams, sports works for us because they can be low cost, high exposure opportunities, which is what I'm always looking for. Some of the opportunities that I have, I don't even need exclusivity in the category because where there are a few bigger naming rights, for example, New York Life in soccer, you don't see a lot of it going on. And, it's life insurance isn't, the sexiest of brands. So, versus, shoes or energy drinks or some of these
So you
players.
give money back guarantee.
Yeah. So I think that there's enough to go around. And I think that, State Farm, it's funny you mentioned college sports. I have people all the time that say, how can you get on the back of the goalpost nets, field goal kicking and college sports? It always says State Farm. And it's kind of like an acceptance of that's where they live and we live somewhere else. So for now, I think that that we've got the room to grow without worrying, so to speak, in terms of the competitive space. And I think you're gonna really start to see, kind of to Travis's point, the way that television, the way that people consume sports media is ever changing. But I think that from a sponsorship perspective, that's ever changing as well. There's going to come a time where there will be no real estate on a helmet or a jersey or, a goalpost or the stanchions of basketball goals that aren't going to have somebody's logo on them.
No, just before we start. Do you want to go?
Well, I did have one question, which is, this whole summit is about disruption, right? Now, sports culture is being disrupted, and I'm wondering, looking forward, since our focus is disruption, and this is more really to you, Travis, and to you, Charley, in terms of, because MLB or baseball was a distant third when it came to football and the NBA, and brilliant, the advertising, the messaging, because it's very similar now to the NBA and to the NFL. So hats off to you. And I've done research in the field where baseball was traditionally a very white sport. With your ads, you would never know that coming into 2023. Now, sports culture is being disrupted again with the personal branding of college athletes and colleges picking based on, well, you're good, but how many followers do you have? What's going on there? So I'm wondering, forward looking, if a marketer is here in this room thinking about, okay, how do I manage this disruption in culture that I know is coming? Could you share any thoughts on that? I mean, Charlie, if you could talk about personal branding for a minute, and then, Travis, in terms of, okay, baseball is now coming on strong or stronger than it had in the past.
Yeah, it's actually not a new question in college sports. It's cliche to say that we want to talk about the name on the front of the jersey, SMU, as opposed to the back, which is the player's name. Now, it's great that those players can now make money off of their own name, but I think the marketers, especially in college football, there's so much passion, again, from generation to generation, that they care. The priority is going to be the name on the front of the jersey. And so it's up to the schools to make sure that brand stays strong so that value is there for the marketer. Whereas especially college students that they may turn pro in 1 year, and 3 years from now, nobody might remember where they even went. So you do have to allocate some budget, I think, for them, especially if you want to reach younger audiences. But for me, I think I would prefer to work in the field of the name on the front, because that's just a more durable brand.
Yeah, man, I think disruption's a great way to describe what's happening. And yeah, MLB was third, probably a distant third, 5 years ago, right? And it's one thing we've really tried to lean into. Major League Baseball made a couple really good hires, one of them being their head of brand now came from the Cubs, and she's just extremely smart, not afraid to, kind of rattle cages and do some different things. And so what you're seeing a lot of kind of what's coming from the league level is led by her and her team and some other folks they brought in. But that for us was important, was to kind of get out of our comfort zone. But you had to be careful doing it, right? Like we talked about, we didn't want to overcorrect, over-rotate to where we would look like we're trying to be something we're not, right? We always kind of laugh. I think it was a Saturday Night Live skit with Steve Buscemi where he tried to look like a skater kid. It's like, hey, hello, young people. And it's like he looks so out of place. And it's like, that's like the meme that we have is like, we can't be Steve Buscemi in that skit, right? Like we have to be authentic in our own way and be able to speak to that audience in a way that they believe us and trust us. And there's been times where we've done some things that haven't worked. There's been some things we've had to walk back and some things that didn't land the way we wanted it to. But luckily for us, we've had the support of our leadership to allow us to kind of walk, marketing is constantly walking that line. You're trying to walk that tightrope in that line, especially when you get into social. And we've been given the grace to find that sweet spot. And that's what's been really fun about it. Like you said, some of the things that we did were so different than 5 years ago, how we articulated our brand. And I just think it's important to do that because there are so many different options out there. Baseball struggled with this just competitively, like now you're seeing the pitch clock and all these things that make the game faster, but also just the culture of the sport, like embracing bat flips, embracing celebrations, embracing personality. And so a lot of the Latin players have really gotten more comfortable doing that. You can flip a bat as long as you're not showing somebody up, because in any sport, then that's going to have a retaliation. But the fact that you can flip a bat and celebrate, and not worry about the guy behind you getting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in the middle of his back, just the kind of the way the sport is governing itself now, is that you're seeing a lot more of these younger players, these Latin players, and that's just the way they play. And so now the more you're seeing that integrated into the actual sport itself, then for our work to emulate that doesn't feel like we're trying to be something we're not, because inherently the sport is starting to become that. That's what makes the NBA so great in the NFL. Like the NBA, you don't have to watch it. It's all highlight driven, right? That's why the NBA has gotten so snackable and consumable, because it's just highlights. Oh, where's the final score? In the NFL, the same way. And so now with more personality happening between the lines of baseball, then you're starting to get some of those highlight moments, the bat flips, the celebrations, the chains, everything else. And, my 8-year-old son, like his baseball team, they're all in chains and eye black and everything else, right? And it's just like that's becoming kind of part of the swagger of the sport. So the more you can do that on the field, then the more we can extract out in our own work.
No, Globe Life historically has been a conservative company. Travis's marketing team last season pitched us this social piece, a feature towards the latter half of the game called hashtag Globe Life of the Party. And it's, you know, some song, whatnot, and it's just all Instagram posts of people partying at Globe Life Field. And, you know, my old school instinct to go, wait a minute, am I okay with this? And I thought, yes, let's embrace it and embrace the fact that you're at a baseball game and you're having fun. And that runs the gamut from kids to adults. And the first time they did it, the first game, it was to the Beastie Boys Fight for Your Right to Party, and everyone loved it. So that was kind of one of those little bit of a disruptor for us, and it's become one of our favorite things, so.
So I just want to end on this note. Earlier, we talked about demographics, right? Now, if you use demographics, do you really think the NFL would have picked Kendrick Lamar for their halftime show? Right? And it was the most watched halftime show in their history. So I kind of want to put it out there to everyone, like, you know, if we're going to talk disruption, let's really put ourselves in those spots to be prepared or to figure out how to harness disruption as opposed to how to deal with it, but how to harness it so that brands can actually, you know, take advantage of the opportunities that disruptions present financially, obviously, as well as, you know, culturally and building the fan base.
Even little things like music in the ballpark, when we started to really transition to more contemporary music, whether it was rap or some Latin music and just, you know, less of our kind of soundtrack that everyone was used to. That we knew for some people that was going to be uncomfortable because it wasn't what they were used to. But my counterpart now, who's at the Cubs, who replaced the woman who went to the league, she had come from the Pelicans and Saints organization, you know, and so she made the comp of like when the NBA really started to lean into the culture of the players becoming the culture of the league and the teams, and that they started really integrating like a lot more hip hop and rap into the in-game presentation. She was like, well, you had some season. She's like, the big question was like, are we going to lose any season ticket members over this? She's like, we lost 0. No one canceled their season tickets because we started playing hip hop. Like maybe it wasn't what they listened to, but they leaned into it because that's the environment of an NBA game, right? They adapted to it because that's the culture of that sport. And that's what we're doing too, is like, we can't be more relevant and cool if we don't start acting like it and walking the walk and talking the talk, right? So if we want to be relevant to a more diverse fan base, whether it's age, demographic, race, gender, whatever it is, like we have to live it. We have to be okay knowing that some people are going to probably complain and be uncomfortable, but ultimately they're going to adapt. They're not going to leave. And if they do leave, then are we okay with that? Because we probably are going to see more coming in than leaving, but we have, you know, again, we didn't see churn either. But it's just about getting uncomfortable and trusting that where you're taking it, again, it's earning that right. It's like all these baby steps. We didn't do anything overnight, like dramatically massive, but over the span of a couple of years, if you looked at our in-game presentation today versus 2 years ago, it's very different. But it wasn't a flip of the switch. Now, a couple of things we flipped the switch on last year, a couple of things we changed that like didn't land, and we went back to what we had done before because our fans spoke up and said, hey, where is that? Why did we change it? And so we listened to them. It's kind of the whole fan conversation we had earlier about like making fans a part of the process. Like as a brand, you also have to listen to your brand, or you listen to your fans. And you're
Beautiful
not
ads.
representing them, you don't listen to them.
Beautiful. It's stunning. Beautiful. Really nice.
Let's thank our beautiful.